A former Vegas sportsbook manager just leaked internal data showing that 95% of Super Bowl bettors make the same devastating mistake in the 48 hours before kickoff. A mistake that cost one regular guy his entire savings and nearly his marriage. The betting industry has kept this quiet for years because this one error generates millions in profit every single Super Bowl. But what if I told you there's a simple way to avoid becoming part of that 95%, and it has nothing to do with picking the right team? A sports betting analyst just pulled back the curtain on something that could save you thousands of dollars before Super Bowl 60 even starts. Former employees from major sportsbooks have come forward with internal reports that expose a pattern most bettors never see. And what these insiders are revealing will change the way you think about placing your Super Bowl bet forever. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what 95% of people do wrong and why the sportsbooks are counting on you to keep making the same mistakes. The data came from a man named David, who worked behind the scenes at one of the largest sportsbooks in Las Vegas for over a decade. He wasn't a floor manager or a customer service rep. He was part of the analytics team that tracked betting patterns and helped set the lines. After he left the industry, he started talking, and what he revealed should concern anyone planning to bet on Super Bowl 60. According to David and others who worked alongside him, the sportsbooks have detailed profiles on how casual bettors behave during Super Bowl weekend. They know when you're most likely to place your bets. They know which types of bets you're drawn to. And most importantly, they know the psychological triggers that make you bet more than you planned. David shared a case that stuck with him for years. A regular customer named Mike walked into the sportsbook 3 days before Super Bowl 58. Mike was a construction supervisor, married with 2 kids, and he'd been betting on sports casually for years. Nothing crazy, just 100 here and there on games he liked. But the Super Bowl was different. Mike had done his research. He'd watched every game that season. He knew the matchups cold. He was convinced he'd found an edge. That first day, Mike bet $2,000 on the early line. He felt confident. The line was moving in his favor, he thought. He told David's colleague at the window that this was going to be his biggest win ever. But here's what Mike didn't know. The sportsbooks were tracking him. Not just him personally, but every bettor who walked in with that same confident energy 3 days before the game. They had years of data showing that early betting action like Mike's often came from emotional decision-making, not mathematical advantage. And they had strategies in place to capitalize on it. Over the next 48 hours, Mike watched the line move against him. He started to panic. He placed another bet to hedge. Then another to try to get back to even. By kickoff, Mike had put almost $8,000 across multiple bets and positions. When the game ended, he'd lost it all. David's team knew this would happen. They'd seen it hundreds of times before. And the worst part was, Mike thought he was being smart. He thought his research gave him an edge. But the real edge belonged to the house. And it wasn't based on football knowledge. It was based on understanding human behavior. So what was Mike's biggest mistake? Mike's first mistake was something former sportsbook employees call line chasing. He saw the early spread and jumped on it without understanding what those numbers really meant. Here's what actually happens behind the scenes, according to insider reports. When a sportsbook releases an opening line for the Super Bowl, they're not trying to predict the final score. They're trying to generate balanced action on both sides. That's how they make money. They want half the bettors on one team and half on the other, so no matter who wins, the house collects the juice from the losing side. Mike saw the line move from Kansas City, -3 to Kansas City, -4, and thought he'd gotten a great deal by betting early at -3. What he didn't realize was that the line moved because the sportsbook needed it to move. Too much money was coming in on Kansas City at -3, so they bumped it to -4 to attract Philadelphia bettors. The line wasn't moving based on new injury reports or expert analysis. it was moving to balance the money. Former odds makers have explained that during Super Bowl week, lines move an average of 12 to 15 times based purely on betting volume, not football factors. Mike was playing a game he didn't understand. He thought he was betting on football. He was actually betting against a mathematical system designed to extract his money. But that wasn't Mike's only mistake. His second error was diving into prop bets without understanding the mathematics behind them. On Super Bowl Sunday, Mike decided to make the day more exciting. He bet $100 that the first touchdown would be a rushing touchdown. He bet another 100 on the total length of the national anthem being over 2 minutes. He bet $75 on the color of the Gatorade dump. These felt like fun side bets. Low stakes, just for entertainment. But former sportsbook managers have revealed something most bettors never realize. Prop bets carry a house edge that's 3 to 4 times higher than standard point spread bets. On a normal point spread bet, the house edge is about 4.5% because of the juice you pay. But on prop bets, especially novelty props like Gatorade color and anthem length, the house edge can jump to 15% or even 20%. That means for every $100 Mike bet on props, the expected value for the sportsbook was $15 to $20 in profit. Mike placed 8 different prop bets that day, totaling about $650. He won 2 of them and lost 6. He walked away thinking he just had bad luck. But the math was working exactly as designed. Even if he'd won 4 out of 8, he still would have lost money because of how the odds were structured. Before we reveal Mike's third mistake, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to this channel and let me know in the comments what's the biggest bet you've ever placed on the Super Bowl. Now back to what happened. Mike's third mistake was the one that cost him everything, and former odds makers say it's the mistake that generates more profit than any other betting behavior during Super Bowl weekend. Mike's third mistake was building a parlay, and this is where the story gets truly painful, according to the documentation from David's team. A parlay is when you combine multiple bets into one ticket. All of your picks have to win for the parlay to pay out. But if even one leg loses, the entire ticket is worthless. The appeal is obvious. The potential payout is massive because the odds multiply with each bet you add. Mike built a 7-leg parlay. He picked the Chiefs to cover. He picked the over on total points. He picked Travis Kelce to score a touchdown. He picked the first quarter to go over on points. He added 3 more picks he felt confident about. His total bet was $500. If all 7 legs hit, he'd win $12,000. Here's what former sportsbook managers call these bets internally: sucker bets. And they're not being mean. It's literally the industry term according to insider reports. The mathematics of parlays are designed to look attractive while being statistically devastating to the bettor. Each individual bet might have a house edge of 4.5%, but when you combine 7 of them into a parlay, the cumulative house edge jumps to somewhere between 30% and 40%, depending on the odds. That means the sportsbook expects to keep 30 to 40 cents of every dollar wagered on parlays. Mike's $500 parlay had an expected value of maybe $300 for him and $200 profit for the house before the game even started. But here's where the psychology gets cruel. Mike hit 6 out of 7 legs. By the fourth quarter, he was sweating one final bet, the over-under on total points. The game was tied with 2 minutes left. If just 7 more points scored in any combination, Mike would win $12,000. He was texting his wife. He was telling his buddies at the bar that this was it, his big win. The game ended in regulation with the total landing exactly 1 point under Mike's number. He lost everything. The $500 was gone. And instead of walking away, Mike did what former employees say 60% of parlay bettors do when they lose a close one. He tried to win it back immediately. Mike grabbed his credit card and bet another $800 on a 5-leg parlay for the next weekend's games. He lost. Then he bet $200 trying to get even. He lost again. Over the next month, Mike chased that feeling of being one leg away from a big win. He built parlay after parlay, convincing himself that he was due. The mathematics don't work that way according to probability experts. Every bet is independent. The machine doesn't care what you lost yesterday. But Mike's brain couldn't accept it. By the time his wife discovered the credit card statements 2 months later, Mike had lost $15,000 chasing parlays. They had to take out a loan to cover the debt. They almost lost their house. David said cases like Mike's happen every single Super Bowl weekend. But Mike's story reveals the number one mistake that separates winners from losers, according to every former sportsbook employee who's come forward. And it's not about picking the right team or understanding the sport. It's about something most bettors completely ignore. Bankroll management and tracking. Former sportsbook managers say, this is the invisible killer. Mike never tracked his bets. He never added up his total losses. He never set a limit for himself. When someone asked him how much he was down after Super Bowl weekend, he guessed maybe $1,000. The real number was closer to $9,000. He had no idea because he wasn't tracking. Here's what the data reveals. The average casual bettor thinks they break even or lose just a little bit over the course of a year. But when researchers actually track betting histories, the numbers tell a different story. The average recreational sports bettor loses about 15% of every dollar they wager over time. That house edge compounds. If you bet $10,000 throughout a football season, you're expected to end the season down about $1,500. But most people don't feel like they lost that much because they remember the wins more vividly than the losses. It's called selective memory, and the sportsbooks count on it according to behavioral experts. Former odds makers explain that professional bettors, the tiny percentage who actually make money, follow strict rules. They never bet more than 2% of their total bankroll on a single game. They track every single bet in a spreadsheet. They calculate their units won and lost. They know exactly where they stand at all times. If they're on a losing streak, they reduce their bet sizes. They treat it like a business, not like entertainment. Mike treated it like entertainment. He bet with his emotions. He bet more when he was losing to try to get even. He didn't track anything, and he paid the price. So here's what you need to know before Super Bowl 60. If you're going to bet, decide on a total amount you can afford to lose before you place a single wager. Not money you hope to have. Money you actually have in your account right now that won't hurt you if it's gone. Then divide that number by 20. That's your unit size. Never bet more than 1 or 2 units on any single game or parlay. Write down every bet you make. The date, the amount, the type of bet, the outcome. At the end of Super Bowl weekend, add it all up. You need to see the real number, not the number your memory wants to tell you. Super Bowl 60 is going to have record betting volume according to industry projections. Billions of dollars will move through sportsbooks. The vast majority of that money will come from casual bettors who make the same mistakes Mike made. Don't be part of that 95%. The sportsbooks are designed to win. They have the math on their side, but you can protect yourself by understanding what you're actually doing. Track your bets, manage your bankroll, and never chase your losses. Your future self will thank you.